All right. Welcome, everybody. It is so exciting to see such a packed house for today. My name is Daniel Tatchik. I'm the executive director of the Wilton E. Scott Institute for Energy Innovation. And we're so excited that you're here to kick off our 2025 Distinguished Lecture Series. Just a few things first. In case you're unfamiliar with the Scott Institute, we are CMU's campus hub for all things energy. So we give out seed funding each year to grow new energy-related research projects. We support new energy research initiatives. So you might imagine the challenge of energy is extremely interdisciplinary. We have people all across campus in many different fields working to solve these challenges, and it's our job as the Scott Institute to bring them together, to work together, to collaborate in new ways to help solve these big challenges. We also serve as the headquarters for our CMU founders and startups. So we feel very passionately about making sure that the research happening here at CMU has legs outside of the university and grows into a commercialized technology, a service, into an actual startup company that affects real people's lives. And lastly, we host many energy-themed events, such as the distinguished lecture you're at today. So welcome. At the end of the day, we care most deeply about encouraging the development of breakthrough technologies, systems, and policies to accelerate us to a sustainable net zero future. So other ways to stay in touch, you email that first email address and it'll reach someone on our team. We're also on LinkedIn, X. You've probably been to our website, but if not, there's our website. And then just a quick plug for an event happening next month. So this is an MBA student currently at CMU. He's also the founder and CEO of Sabanya. It's an AI company, very energy conscious. A lot of really interesting things happening in clean tech and energy with this company. And as I stated previously, we care very deeply about making sure that the students and faculty and staff here have the resources and the knowledge and the wherewithal to start a startup company, take their technologies, take their research, and turn it into an actual company. And we hope that Ruben Casada Alvarado next month will help share his journey and hopefully educate and inspire you all to take a similar path. We also have our flagship event, CMU Energy Week. So you may have heard this year, it's happening March 25th through the 27th, and we are theming everything around AI and energy. I like to say, and it is true, that there's something for everyone at Energy Week. So our first day is all focused on investing and startup companies and clean tech and climate tech investing. So we'll have a room full of investors. We'll have a number of startup companies from the region giving their quick pitch on their companies and how they're solving some energy or climate related challenge. If you've ever seen Shark Tank, it's kind of like that, except rarely do we have real-time deals going down, but that would be really exciting. Maybe this is the year. And then later we have one-on-one meetings between those investors and our founders. The second day is all about all things AI and energy related. We'll have a number of keynotes and panel discussions focused on the challenge at the intersection of AI and energy. And then our last day on the 27th is all about students. So there's going to be a business case competition in the morning. There's going to be a student energy research poster competition at noon that day. And then lastly, we'll have a careers in energy networking reception. So if you're wondering, wow, Daniel, how am I supposed to absorb all that information you just shared? Sign up for our newsletter because we're going to be sending out an announcement in 2 days that Energy Week registration is open. So if you're registered, you'll get the first notification that we have registration open, and you will learn all about all the things that are happening at CMU Energy Week this year. So please take out your phone, sign up for our newsletter. Maybe you did so at the check-in desk, but we only email you once a month, and so it's the best way to learn what's happening in energy and climate at the university. And so with that, we are so excited to have today's speaker, Lou Martinez Sancho. After some short remarks, she will be engaging in a fireside chat with our director, Costa Samaras, about the future of nuclear and how energy students such as yourselves can see themselves in a career path towards nuclear energy. So, Costa, the stage is yours to introduce today's distinguished speaker.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel, and thanks to all of you for making time to be here today for this exciting event. A lot of times when we talk about energy, and we're the Center for Energy Innovation at Carnegie Mellon, we think about the world. But I want to bring it back to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is a center and a global leader for energy innovation and has been really for our entire history. And that is absolutely true when it comes to nuclear power. You may know that the first civilian nuclear power plant in the United States came online in the 1950s outside of the airport here in Pittsburgh. And Westinghouse has been a story in a leader in innovation in nuclear energy and innovation in energy in general since its founding. And so, therefore, we are so excited to have Dr. Lou Martinez Sancho. She's the Chief Technology Officer at Westinghouse and a global leader in research and development with more than 20 years of experience in the energy, biotech, automotive, and AEC industries. Dr. Sancho currently leads R&D and technology strategy and has held senior roles at Kairos Power, Spie Batignolles, and Framatome. Uh, Dr. Sancho holds a Ph.D. in public health, environment, and sustainability, multiple master's degrees, and a master black belt Lean Six Sigma certification. We're going to have a fireside chat for a little while. We have a robust agenda. And then after that, we're going to have some opportunity for you all in the audience to ask Dr. Sancho some questions. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Sancho.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, all. Thank you for hosting me today here. It's really an honor. Since I started, actually tomorrow we were discussing with Costa. Tomorrow is my 1-year tenure of this role in Westinghouse. And when you work in the nuclear industry, it's really an honor to be part of the journey. Beginning of January, Westinghouse celebrated 138 years or something like that. So, and as you mentioned, any nuclear plant in the world and any technology has something to do with Westinghouse, either because it's a licensed technology, either because it has been built, either because we are helping with the operations on the maintenance on the fuels. So it's really, really an honor to be in this community in Pittsburgh and joining this community in Carnegie Mellon working on the energy sector. So I will present you a bit. No. It was on the other side.
Yep.
The other way up. Yep. So it's shaping tomorrow's victories for energy. I passed this one. So Westinghouse, as I mentioned, is innovating more than 135 years. What is very interesting is just to present a tiny bit the company, and then we will start in a more informal conversation. I found it always better. So Westinghouse, we are over 10,000 employees. It's a global company, and as Costa mentioned, it started in Pittsburgh. So be proud for those who are here, because it is one of those companies that make it through the centuries. Why? Because of innovation mainly, and keeping always those cutting-edge technologies. We are located in over 21 countries. We speak a lot of languages in Westinghouse as well. We have different business units, but what is very important is the vision and the mission of Westinghouse is bringing and advancing technologies for clean carbon future. And we have actually, I always position it like that, kind of two legs of our strategy in Westinghouse. One is providing technologies that they are going to produce clean, baseload, firm energy. So we have our products, obviously, AP1000, AP300, eVinci. Something that I'm sure a lot of you don't know is that we are also developing long-term storage. So it's a renewable product as well. Why? Because it fits very well on that portfolio. And the second part of our strategy is serving the current fleet. It's very important to build new capabilities, but it's even more important to keep the ones that we have already up and running. So that's why we have two new business units. One is called LTO, Long-Term Operations. What is the role of that business unit? Is maintaining the current nuclear plants up and running up to 80 years, 100 years. And then, of course, OMS, where we do all the maintenance, and we have fuels, and there we are totally agnostic. People sometimes believe that we only serve nuclear reactors that has been designed by Westinghouse. It's not the case. We are totally agnostic, so we serve BBRs, PWRs, any kind of reactors that need our support. One point that I would like to mention, and it goes into why so important our sector. When the invasion of Ukraine happened, the Zaporizhia plant was really at stake for providing energy to that sector in the world, and actually they were utilizing Russian fuel. While Westinghouse, we don't know those plants, we don't know those kind of technologies. In 18 months, or engineers or manufacturing plants, they were able to provide the fuels that they needed to keep that plant up and running. And again, all that is just because you have technology bricks, you have knowledge that you can assemble very fast when it's needed. So in all, it means that our technology in Westinghouse generates roughly 50% of the world's nuclear power in one way or the other. It doesn't mean all of it is Westinghouse, but we serve a lot of those plants. So this is, I think, the only slides I have. So these are the kind of products, obviously, that we are serving, and I will be very happy to answer some of those questions, but I'm sure it's more interesting to go into the fire chat.
Great. Well, thanks for those introductory remarks. We have an energy crowd here, but there may be other folks, because there's been a lot of interest in your talk, that folks may not know that there's really a global surge in interest in nuclear power.
Yep.
And so maybe tell us about how Westinghouse is responding to that surge, and why do people want nuclear power now?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I will start, instead of saying how Westinghouse actually is addressing those, what we are seeing is that there are four major drivers right now in the energy sector that actually is driving the nuclear energy as, of course, being part of that energy mix. The first one is the energy security. That's why I was mentioning that example in Ukraine. So all the geopolitical events have focused the attention on the energy security. And because the characteristic of nuclear energy is to produce baseload energy during long term, it is really critical. And we have really support from many governments to provide that energy security. The second one, obviously, is the decarbonization goals. Another nice thing of nuclear is that we drive for net zero. We are one of the energy producers that produce less CO2 emissions. And obviously with the crowd we have here on the specialized on energy or not, I'm sure you have here all the announcements following the COP 28, the COP 28 related to triple the nuclear energy. The third point is the energy price and the fact that there is a price volatility when you are talking about other sources of energy. In nuclear, well, once we make the investment and it's built and it's up and running, it is very stable. We can calculate what are those fees. And that's why there are so many utilities around the world, not only in the United States, that they want to keep those plants up and running. And the last one is the public acceptance. It's the first time in many, many decades since we started the nuclear adventures as humans that we're getting such a support, and each one will use one of those reasons. So those four topics are positioned actually the nuclear energy in a very positive position right now. It's probably the first time in history that we are driving by a commercial need, not only a governmental need, and that put also a change. How Westinghouse is addressing those? Well, I think everybody knows the flagship product of Westinghouse is the AP1000. It's a large water reactor. They are multiple AP1000s up and running. They are 6, actually. They are already been operating, and they are 12 under construction. So it's not a new technology, but it's an advanced technology. It's what we call an generation 3+ technology. Probably what you don't know, because people think about a smaller nuclear to be modular, the AP1000 already has a lot of lessons learned. It's not a first of the kind, and actually there's a lot of modular construction and flexibility that goes into delivering those programs. We are addressing those challenges also with another product that is an SMR, a small modular reactor. It's an AP300. It's basically the same thing as an AP1000, but we have done south in it. So There is no a breakthrough, so it's not on my portfolio of innovation. It is already an engineering problem in how we're going to build it. And then we have also a macro reactor. We have a business unit that is developing eVinci, is a micro reactor, because there is needs in any segment of what the market needs. And the last come to the family is the long-term storage. And why we're doing long-term storage, you might wonder. Well, because actually it's a thermal technology, it's very similar, and there are a lot of synergies with the technology bricks on what we are doing on the nuclear field. And it helps us also to understand decentralized systems, long-term systems, and how we can combine that as well with in a smart grid with micro reactors and with large reactors. So the message that we need so much amount of energy that we need everything, and that's why we position ourselves in the different segments of the market.
Well, I think a bunch of our community here might not have known about the storage investments. As is super exciting. How long is long-term storage for Westinghouse? 16
So
hours, 16 days?
it really depends on what the customer wants. But it's starting 8 hours, and it can go up to really 10,000, whatever actually the customer needs. It works with heat oil system, and we have a partner, Ecogene, that help us with the development of the technology. So it's really long term.
Fantastic.
We don't do peaks.
You said SMRs, you said AP1000s, AP300s, and the eVinci microreactor.
Yep.
Can you give us a sense of the scales? AP1000 is 1,000 megawatts, so SMR is 300 megawatts? And so
More or less.
and what about the eVinci? How big is that one?
So the bench is between 1 to 5 megawatts. The others, obviously, you have is 100 and 1,150 for the AP. 1,000 is a bit more. The AP300 always a bit more, but it's more or less those the megawatts that we're doing. So we are in a high power, I will say. And then eVinci, it is positioned itself more like a nuclear battery, very close to what diesel actually is doing. So targeting propulsion from space applications, very isolated areas, and a lot of fun utilities that right now you only can use fossil fuels actually to answer to those requests.
Maybe potentially a university campus with a steam generator that we can look at?
That will be an option for sure. They are actually different. I cannot obviously reveal or commercial plans. But there are many universities that they are interested on having those kind of technologies for multiple reasons, not only for their own needs, but also to train the next generation of nuclear engineers and energy practitioners. And when you have one of those reactors, and it's true that a micro reactor gives that possibility. I mean, I work on R&D, and I'm working on R&D and innovation in the nuclear sector for a while now. One of the things that is happening currently in the world is that the research reactors that usually a lot of them, they are bases in different campuses, they are just going too old. So we need to start to decommissioning them. So there are a lot of universities around the world that are starting to think, what is the next generation of those research reactors? Usually they are a bit different. Of course, we utilize on the commercial side because it helps to do research, and it helps also to train individuals into those technologies. So there is a big traction as well on campuses and universities on that kind of size of reactors.
That's really exciting and really a different type of market than most folks think about when they think
Yeah.
about nuclear power. I'm glad that you mentioned COP28. The previous administration, the Biden administration, had a tripling of nuclear power there. That I was part of those announcements in Dubai. But when we were doing it there was a lot of excitement from the nuclear community. But then other folks who hadn't been paying attention to nuclear were concerned about the potential to scale and the challenges. So maybe you can give the audience here just kind of broad overview of what the opportunities and challenges for advanced nuclear are in the global landscape.
Yeah, I mean, that is, again, incredible good question. I mean, obviously, I work in nuclear, and I believe it's a great option, but it's not the only option. It's just part of the mix that can contribute into it. It's great because it's firm, it doesn't produce CO2 emission, it brings tremendously value to the communities where nuclear is being built. It's a lot of generations. Right now, we are keeping up and running nuclear reactors up to 80 years. AP1000s, they are designed to almost 100 years of operations. It's a lot of generations conditions in the same community with high-paid jobs and all that. But they are an aside because nothing is perfect. It goes without saying the difficulties that the nuclear industry in the past years, especially on Occidental countries, we have with the construction of those reactors, with overruns going very far on the scheduling. And it's not only in the United States, it's the same in Europe. It seems like, the Chinese has found the magic recipe. And what is the magic recipe? You just keep building. It's not a problem of the technology itself, it's a problem of construction. And in the Occidental countries, we have stopped to build those kind of complex programs for over 20, 25 years. So when we start all over again, it means that you need to rebuild supply chain. It means that you need to start a workforce that know how to build those kind of reactors. For us right now, we are in a good spot in Westinghouse because in the United States, we have built 2 of those reactors. That means that we have exercised the supply chain. And our only message is like, it's time to keep building so we don't lose those learnings from the others. When you see the learning curves of nuclear in France, in South Korea, that they have been doing copy and paste of the same technologies, it's incredible how they achieve. And now we are seeing the same thing with the Chinese fleets. That is one of the points that it is complex in nuclear. The second point that I will mention, obviously, is the financial investment. What I have seen after all those announcements on the COP29 and following, this 2025, for those that and since some friends in the audience that we've been working in the nuclear industry, we are living kind of, everybody was talking about nuclear, like nuclear is going to save this, and now we have the hyperscalers, and we have this, we need to start building. But when you go into the hardcore, like what is the business model of that technology, how I'm going to finance the construction of those reactors, there is kind of something that is still missing on that puzzle. And the business models, and I think that's why I'm very excited to be here in your institute and start working in those topics, because for me, it's not a problem of technology. We have the technology that can answer a lot of those questions, but we don't have yet the innovation required on the business models. For the large reactors, we know what works and doesn't work, but for smaller reactors like an AP300, for micro reactors like an eVinci, we are totally shifting what is the value proposition and what is the business model that we're going to offer. And probably a lot of those newcomers, they say, I don't want to operate that. I just want the energy that is coming, or I don't want electrons. I just want heat because that is what I need. And that shifts tremendously. And it's one of the things that we are still a bit kind of finding each other, what is going to be the right investment mode and what is going to be the right business model to make all that triple the level of nuclear in the different mixes.
You talked about the 2 plants that opened or 2 units that opened in Georgia, which exercise the supply chain, exercise the labor force, exercise the construction process. Do you see a big role for innovation besides the exercisation of learning by actually building? Is there an innovation role to drive down cost? Is there a pathway to reduce cost through innovation?
So, Costa, if you take my colleague Dab Lipman, that is the president of Energy System in Westinghouse, probably will tell you no innovation, copy paste, copy paste. But I'm the CTO, so yes, of course we innovate. It's not the same. It's not the same way. What we do, we are not doing R&D. It's not research. What you do when you are trying to solve those problems, you are not doing breakthrough innovations or game changer innovations, but you still do it an incremental innovation. Why? Because we take the value and the data from what we have built and we bring it into the next layer. And there is where the teams in Westinghouse are working very hard. So in my department, for instance, we have a big number of software engineers, data scientists, AI practitioners. And what they do is that they partner with the colleagues on the engineering side to see how we can keep improving. We are still working on the modular construction. We have learned a lot in how the modularity of the construction impact actually the design. So we are trying to see, can we go a bit further? Where are the segments that they can be do? We try to do a small proof of concepts outside the construction. When is the right moment, then it's the engineers that they choose. Now we are ready to do it. But a lot of digitalization, a lot of capturing the knowledge and introducing AI, and we keep exploring technology bricks on the materials and the constructability and the modularity.
So you mentioned AI. We do at Carnegie Mellon obviously a lot of work on AI, but also a lot of work on digital twin and automation and advanced manufacturing. And so is that the type of things that you're talking about could potentially drive down cost and innovation? So not a new reactor design, but
Yep.
new processes? Does that help?
Absolutely. Today, I mean, when I started in the nuclear field 15 years ago, I was coming from the automotive. And in the automotive industry, we didn't call them back in the days digital twins, but it was the same. Everything was digitalized from the design till the manufacturing, and also including parts of how to operate or in the retail shops. When I started in nuclear, it was kind of a gap on the technology 15 years ago. Today, when our customers, they buy an AP1000, they don't buy only the reactor. They buy the reactor, but they also buy the model, the full model that goes into it. And that is a great advantage when they are thinking in how to operate, how to optimize not only the construction costs, but also the operational costs, because it is technologies that is going to run for over 80, maybe 100 years. So definitely the answer is yes. Where we are doing a lot of progress as well on that field is with the eVinci. Why? Because what I really like very much about Generation 4 and about all those kind of even fusion is because the playground is larger. I mean, today, again, my colleagues that they are already selling, building AP1000s, obviously it is very standardized design. We don't touch because there is not really a strong research on those areas. But when we are helping and supporting our colleagues on the microreactor side, that is where we find out a lot of learnings, especially on the digital twin side. We are seeing actually the continuity of the data from the design to the manufacturing, because microreactors are going to be manufactured more than actually built on site. And we learn a lot that then we can feed that knowledge back to our colleagues that they are working more on the traditional AP1000s. And we have problems to solve that we are not used to because it's not a light water reactor. So it makes you think very differently. Like if I'm thinking about how to model materials that they go to a very, very high temperatures, those are one of the roadblocks that a lot of people working in Generation 4 and fusion were facing. They are, you go with your models to a level of technicity that actually you learn so much that fits back the current technology that you are using for a light water reactor.
So maybe before, where you have to pick a material, build it, test it, and evaluate it, it's doing some of that digitally and trying to understand the space that's possible and then testing it for real. And so they're cutting out some portion of the time that would speed things up.
Mhm.
So basically the question is, when can we see an eVinci reactor?
Well, hopefully soon. So one point that I would like to mention of what you are saying is that that is something very, very exciting that is happening in other industries, not only nuclear, is that you have your hardware that is being developed and being built, and in parallel you have all this amount, because at the end of the day, a digital twin is just a set of data and models. And actually you have, at the same time that you are building the design, you are building the process or the tooling to build it, and you are building all these lines. So you have 3 layers of design that they go in parallel. So what is now that all those tools allow us now in nuclear to do much more rapid prototyping for small sequences of what we are doing, and that is what is advancing the technology.
Oh, fantastic. So, Daniel mentioned CMU Energy Week. It's focused on AI energy this year. You mentioned hyperscalers. Every day we're reading stories in the news about the demand for AI and the demand for energy and the potential renaissance around nuclear that may be connected to it. So maybe you can help the audience understand a little bit more. How is the demand for AI potentially driving new interest in clean firm power?
Costa, just one thing. You use one word that in our industry we don't like using it is renaissance, and I'm going to explain why. In 2010, we thought that, yeah, now is the nuclear renaissance. And then we know what happened, and it was very hard. So for us that we work in the industry since 2010, we try to avoid to use renaissance, and we are very cautious. It's true that we are in a very, I will say, beneficial, or the environment is very beneficial for nuclear at this point in time, but we have to be very cautious because I mentioned some of the roadblocks that we have. And we need to deliver, and we need to deliver that at cost, safe. We need to operate them safe. All those kind of things are very critical for us. So I guess we have a good momentum, but not a renaissance, because until they are not built, we don't know what is going to happen. So we are a bit cautious about the excitement.
Maybe enlightenment.
Exactly. I prefer that one. But I to answer your question, depending on the studies, and I'm sure, I mean, for the folks here on the audience that they are more with an energy background, probably they have read already the last study that has been published by the EAI about the role of nuclear in all this. So it is, I mean, depending on what you are reading, the growth of nuclear, I mean, what is clear is that in OECD countries, we have moved from almost a steady growth, just very, very marginal, into a big growth that goes between 8% to 18%, depending what is the report that you are reading and how optimistic. And a lot of it is driven, or part of it is driven for the need of hyperscalers. But even there, when you go into the market, not all of them, they need the same thing. Because if you are on a hyperscaler, you are going to do a lot of cloud computing, generative AI. So actually, the best product probably for that segment is AP1000s, because you are sure that you have it, it's stable, you know the price, you can make a PPA with a utility and you stabilize that. But if you are on you are working on more mobile solution, on edge computing, AIoT systems, maybe an SMR or microreactor fits better because your need is going to be more in a super decentralized grid, and you need that part of it. So we take into consideration all those areas, but it goes without saying, I mean, I'm sure everybody has read the media that there are a lot of those technical companies that they are coming to the nuclear sector, like, I need huge amount of energy. That is a reality. And then there is still the fact of the security of the supply in a geopolitical situation that is not super stable. So when you put the two together, it makes nuclear as a good solution, not the only, but a part of that overall energy solution for driving, again, big impact for the society.
So we need energy, we need innovation, but we also need people to run this.
Yep.
And Carnegie Mellon has some great talent that we graduate. Some of the best, I would argue, the best students in energy in the world. Do they have to be nuclear engineers to work at Westinghouse? What type of people does Westinghouse look for in filling this talent pipeline?
Yeah, so not at all. It's one of the things that really excite me very much to be here and to start collaborations, of course, and keep collaborations, because Westinghouse and CMU has collaborated since the very beginning. If somebody told me that one of the first robotics labs in CMU was founded by Westinghouse in the 80s, and now you see what is that robotic labs and what is Pittsburgh in the robotic area. So we need everything. I mean, I'm not a nuclear engineer, just to give an example. So we need any kind of expertise, because we are a very global company and we are trying to solve problems in all kind of expertise. So obviously we hire a lot of scientists, we hire a lot of engineers, a lot of technicians, but not all of them, they are nuclear engineers. We need mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, software engineers. On my team right now, we hire a lot AI experts, data scientists, and obviously we help them to understand what is our industry and vice versa. Chemical, we do a lot of fuels, so obviously that goes a lot into those kind of areas. And then to solve this energy dilemma equation that we have with nuclear, we have the technical side of the expertise. And then we have all the business side. What are the new business models? How we are going to finance these things in a different way and thinking out of the box. So we are thinking for folks, and that's why I think CMU has a very, very good programs because you include science into the business side. And that helps to create those individuals that they're going to understand a high technology driven technology, but at the same time, understand the business, the finance that goes with it. And the last sections are the policymakers. If you recall on the 4 trends that we are seeing for nuclear, one of the trends is the public acceptance and the energy of security. All that goes with a lot of support on the policy side. So we need also that expertise to help us understand how we can build that in globality. So at the end, when you are in the nuclear business, it's very holistic. And then, of course, we have all the colleagues. I mean, HR, finance, accounting, 80 people. Without that, you don't run over 10,000 company, global company. So I will say really any expertise, even if you think like, oh, nuclear is very far. I mean, I always said I did not choose nuclear. Nuclear chose me, and it's the reality. I was working on the automotive. It was that period of the Renaissance, and we were struggling to build reactors. So they called me and they say, Lu, do you want to join us? I say, what do you want me to do in nuclear? I didn't even have an opinion, pro or anti. It was just something like, I know exist. And say, what is your problem? Say, well, we have a problem with on-time delivery. We are not delivering what we promise, and we are struggling. So we are looking for people coming from other industries to help us understand how you have standardized, how you are able to deliver 1 car per minute, where we are not able to deliver 1 reactor in 10 years. So that's how I enter in the nuclear sector, and really, I don't regret it. It's an amazing field because it changes all the time. So inside the same industry, you can find a lot of things to do in a career.
Well, just one last question, then we'll get to audience Q&A. And so it's really fascinating to hear about your path to entering nuclear. And so now you're a global leader in this space. You have advice to our students on the attributes and the qualities of building a career in the energy field?
It's a very difficult question because, advices is always complex, especially in situation, everybody's different. But for me, just be bold. I mean, you need to be bold. A lot of times you put yourself limits on your own that the others they don't have. So you need to be bold, and it's for everybody. You don't need to have a Ph.D. in neutronics to work in the nuclear field. And there are a lot of areas that they are really fascinating. But I mean, personally, I love the industry. I love manufacturing. I love doing things that have a big impact on the society. That has been my driver. My personal story, I don't believe you can have a track like, I'm going to do this, and then suddenly you arrive here. No, I mean, I just there on my career, I was very bold. I was saying yes to almost everything. And sometimes it's like rugby or football. You need to go outside, learn. When I enter my industry, I mean, when I came from the automotive, it was very hard. I mean, I'm going to be honest, there were a lot of our colleagues, they say, hey, building a car is like building a yogurt. I mean, this is nuclear. So what I did, I took all my training in nuclear safety engineer, internal training in the company I was working on today. And a lot of people were asking me why you're putting yourself under so much stress and pain. And I was like, because every time I'm trying to tell them to do something differently or to innovate or to propose an idea, they're telling me this is nuclear, it's not feasible. I need to understand those constraints. And I was very frustrated. Burst training neighbor, it was 2 years very hard. Sometimes on the neutronic course, I was really, then asking to my colleagues, can you help me? And I'm not sure I'm getting it, but I passed the test. I did that, and I get the recognition of my colleagues. And then it helps me tremendously on my work, because when you understand the regulatory constraints, you understand why this is so difficult to do it, you are much more effective when you are introducing new technologies and you speak their language under constraints.
Well, what an inspiring story. Thank you for your global leadership in this industry that has deep roots in Pittsburgh. Thank you, Dr. Sancho, please. I wanted to continue it for another hour. That's why I was saying, please welcome. So I think now we're going to go to our Q&A section. And so I think we have a mic runner. Yes. And looks like Keith has one over here, Daniel, right in the middle.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for your commentary today. Um, from a policy standpoint, what changes do you see as being needed to advance uptake of SMRs and microsystems here in the U.S.?
Uh, it's a very complex question. And I have a lot of experts in policy here in the room, but I will jump myself. I will give you my personal opinion on that one, not the Westinghouse one. So I think the U.S. government has been putting a lot of efforts on the policy side and on the financial side, on the R&D side. And now there is a moment that there are technologies like the AP300. We can consider an advanced technology as well, the AP1000, because it's a generation 3 plus, even if it's not an SMR. And I think now we need policies that help moving from the R&D side into really the execution. So that is usually things that we discuss, obviously, with the different governments in different layers. And that is what I think the United States needs. Obviously, and I know there are a lot of experts on my side here on those topics, but regulations sometimes are very hard when you are starting a construction permit. An environmental report is very heavy on the regulatory side. So those are things, that's why I say, in my opinion, we need to start moving for financing the R&D that has been pretty successful in the United States because we have technologies that can be built. And now we need to move on policies that allow us actually to build.
Great. Another question. Looks like we have one in the back there.
Thank you for your talk. I actually interned at Kairos Power this summer, and wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about why you made the switch from there to Westinghouse.
So that again is a very personal question. So I was in Kairos Power for 5 years, and why I moved back. Kairos was, again, I know Kairos before Kairos existed, because back on my previous job, we were doing a lot of research with UC Berkeley. I knew the technology, I knew the team, I knew what I was going, and I was a huge fan of Generation 4. I really believe they have an incredible technology, but it's not because of the technology, because of the business model of Kairos Power that I joined them. And I need to start there because it's kind of a journey on my career. So after all that failed renaissance in the years 2010 and all that, it was very hard to innovate in nuclear. Mostly all the programs were related to nuclear safety. A bit on the end cycle, a bit on fuel, but not really into what is going to come next. And I thought, like, we need to start doing those things. And everybody in Europe told me, no, it's not going to happen, forget it. So that's why I moved to the United States. What a better place to be than the Silicon Valley when everybody's telling you, yeah, why not? They don't know. I mean, just to paraphrase some of my friends or some of the professors in Berkeley say, Lou, don't tell them it's not possible, because otherwise they're going to stop. So that energy was very good. And when you work in R&D, at one point as an entrepreneur, you want to be also on the other side. You spend your time working with the startups, with innovators, pioneers, and I just needed to be on the other side. Why I moved back to the traditional nuclear industry? Because I think we are in a moment where we need to start building. I think Kairos has an incredible successful plan to bring their reactor into life, and they got construction permit applications for the demonstrations and so on. So my job was kind of done there. And why Westinghouse? Because after the impact, when you see the amount of energy that we need to build, I believe that we need those reactors, and large water reactors are an incredible part of the solution, and we need to keep doing that. Another part that I'm a strong believer is keeping the current plants. You know, a nuclear plant usually takes you like 25 years of return of investment in your capex, but once you pass that, it has an incredible business for the utilities that they are running them. Today, I really have a lot of fun helping our customers to translate from analogic to digital. When you go to all those old plants, people are believing things a bit like Homer Simpson. Not at all. They look more like a SpaceX control rooms, even if they were built a very long time ago. And that is the main reason why I moved to Westinghouse. And it's very difficult when you work in your industry to say no to Westinghouse because of the legacy, the history, and the knowledge that actually is on the teams in Westinghouse.
Great. Other questions? I saw ones. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Sancho, thank you for your time today. My name's George. I'm an MBA student across the street at Tepper in the energy and sustainability track. Just a little background. We just finished a capstone for the track working with a energy developer referencing capital expenditures for data center and AI-driven energy demand. And we realized that that demand is huge. And talking with some people about NVIDIA GPUs that are going to be put into some of these data centers, that could almost 10x the power demand in the next year and a half from what we've seen. From a lot of these people and throughout the energy generation process, interconnection queues are a huge, huge problem. 5 years maybe from the time of finding a plot of land to being able to finish building on it. So there's a huge demand for reliable behind-the-meter solutions, which SMR, something like an AP300 or a microreactor, seems like it would address very well. But you had mentioned that the value prop is sort of what's holding that up and not the technology side. Also, like you said, like Microsoft probably doesn't want to run their own reactor. So how do we get to that finish line and be able to deliver that as soon as possible? You've touched on it some with regulation, but what's the government involvement? What's the private sector involvement to kind of cross that finish line?
That's why we need MBA students as well to help us find the solution. Obviously, I mean, in Westinghouse, we provide the nuclear island, we provide the design of the reactor, and those are questions that are more global with different actors that needs to be around the table. So today what I'm seeing is almost case by case that is being done because each utility, depending in how they are foreseeing their development, they will go one path or they will go another. What is brand new right now, it is, maybe I'm wrong, many academics here in the room, but it is one of the first times we're starting to see PPAs on the nuclear sector. That is a big game changer on the business side, because if you need to make an investment that is going to take like years to take until you can have that return on investment, but you have already the customer that is confirming, I can take that PPA for 20, 25 years. And by the way, I'm taking the cost of that energy at a premium because I need it so badly. Those are the kind of things that it helps. Then we need to keep working on the financial side, because when you put those programs inside, it's like you need to find the people that are going to finance those kind of projects. And then we need to have the right policies that allows you to start your construction and all those kind of things in a much more smooth way. The same with the regulation side. Obviously, it is a heavy regulated industry. So it's not an easy, but I think the fact that those non-nuclear customers, they came into our industry are being very beneficial to have those kind of questions. In my opinion, we're going to see a kind of a hybrid models depending on what is the customer and what they are seeing. They are in situations where SMRs simply, the business case is not the best one, and maybe you need to go larger. And there are going to be other cases where, okay, yeah, it's the right fit, but I will pay that premium. And then the financial community, I think in the last 2 years has been a lot of education on the financial community saying, no, actually it's a good business to invest in nuclear. And Westinghouse is a very good example with the co-owners of Westinghouse. I mean, it's people that they believe that nuclear is a good business. Otherwise, obviously, they will have not invest in our development. So I'm sorry I don't have a straightforward answer because that is the 1 million answer. But I think we need to collaborate all the different parts to put that puzzle together. But it's the economical, financial, and business model piece is the only one for me that right now is missing to start building part of those technologies or new reactors.
Let's do one last question from a student. Looks like we have one in the back there.
Thank you. So my name is Stacy, and I'm a first-year student in EPP Ph.D. student. So I was curious about the applications of the eVinci microreactor, and if it's possible for it to be used perhaps in areas that might have faced like the critical infrastructure, like the energy grid going down. Is there an opportunity for the microreactor to come in and be used, like deployed to support areas where the grid infrastructure is like come down? So I was curious about your thoughts there.
Yep, it's one of the use cases that is being done. So, just to give you an idea, a microreactor is as big as a truck. You transport it by air. So actually, you have 3 tracks. One is where the reaction is happening, another one with the INC, and then depends if you need heat or you need electrons. You might need a turbine. So we are already working with different communities in Canada on that kind of solutions to drive that. Obviously, there is still a bit of R&D on the microvinci to do, but we are not solving science issues. They are engineering issues, and that is what it has to be very clear. All the technologies are not equal, and they are not equal on the development technically. And then we are also, of course, working with the regulator to be sure that you can license that, because that means that you are going to be in a situation that is very different from the large water reactor. So eVinci is doing a fantastic work working with the different regulators and at the same time solving those issues. But the big innovation is that you're going to have a reactor in a truck, so you can deploy whatever is needed. That is part of the solution. We cannot forget also the cost of doing that, because obviously if you are competing with diesel, so mainly right now it's not if we can do it, is can we do it at the cost that the market is accepting it. Those are the challenges that we are developing. And again, I think really it's very exciting. I mean, really, those are things we do a lot of visits for students to our unit here in Etna, is where eVinci is being done. And you will see it's not a paper reactor. We test a lot. There is a lot of hardware that is being there. You can see actually how it's being tested. And you see that, okay, I understand now it's not R&D, it's really engineering. It's part of the development and part of the engineering to get it into commercialization.
Oh, it's pretty clear that Pittsburgh is still the future of energy innovation, but it's also the present of energy innovation, and that's because of the leadership of Dr. Sancho and Westinghouse. Please join me in thanking Dr. Sancho.
Thank you all. Thank you.